Who's blessed? Hey, YouTube theologians, Pastor Wolfmueller here. We had the Beatitudes today. Where does that come from? This must be Latin. The 9 blessings that Jesus starts the Sermon on the Mount with. And here's something cool to note. There's some structural things in these blessings. Number 1 and number 8 are present tense. Number 2 to 7 are future tense. That's an interesting. To notice that this is the word that the book of Psalms starts with. Psalm 1:1, blessed is the man, and Jesus starts this, and Matthew gives it to Jesus, the first word out of his mouth. He sits down, opens his mouth, begins to speak, blessed. And I was reading some commentary on this week where they said it's a judgment that Jesus makes where he says, that's blessed. So, okay, so structure first and then the idea. So, you know, the 10 commandments have these 2 tables, the 3 law commandments and the 7 neighbor commandments. And the Lord's Prayer has that similar structure, the 3 heaven petitions and the 4 earth petitions, the thy and the us. So, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, the 3 thy, and then the give us this daily bread, forgive us, lead us, deliver us. So there's the 3 thy, the 4 us. There's I think a similar pattern in the Beatitudes, in the blessings. And what if we do it like this? The first 4 have to do with faith. The next 3 have to do with love. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the merciful. And then the last 2 have to do with hope or suffering. Blessed are those who are persecuted. Blessed are you when you're persecuted. Whew, he turns the second person in the last one and says, you're blessed. When you're persecuted and reviled and people utter things against you falsely, that's the blessing that Jesus has for us. So faith, poor in spirit, meek, hungering and thirsting for righteousness, this first part of these blessings, this has to do with how we stand before God. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the merciful. That has to do with how we live before our neighbor. And then blessed are those who are persecuted. That has to do with hope. It's fascinating. I think that structure is really quite nice. And then within that structure, we see what the Lord is doing. He's flipping things on its head. So here's I think how to think of it. If you could imagine that you're a people watcher, and you're sitting on a park bench in a crowded park, and you're sitting next to Jesus, and you're trying to figure out who's blessed. Who's the blessed one? Jesus says, who's the blessed one? And you're like, oh, there's a guy who's over there, he's very rich, or rich in spirit, a very confident kind of guy. And Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. He points to the guy over there, the poor in spirit guy. Blessed are the poor in spirit. There's the kingdom of heaven. Who else? Like, oh, look how happy that guy is over there. Look how much he's laughing. He's blessed. And Jesus says, see the person over there mourning? Blessed are those who mourn. They will be comforted. And this goes on all the way through. We're like, is this person blessed? Jesus says, no, that person. This blessed? No, that person. And it's always a surprise. Who's going to inherit the earth? Well, the bold, they'll inherit the earth, right? That person, they look blessed. They're going to inherit the earth. And Jesus says, no, not that one. You see that person over there so meek? It's just a totally astonishingly different way of looking at the world. Jesus has different eyes. He looks at the world with different eyes. And that's what he gives us in the Word, in the Scriptures. He teaches us to see the world with his eyes. And to see the poor and the meek and the lowly and those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. That's the key one. That's right in the middle. That's number 5 of 9. It's the apex blessing. Blessed are those who are hungry and thirsty for righteousness. In other words, they know they don't have righteousness and they need it. They long for it. They desire it. Oh, that righteousness that they don't have, Jesus says, they'll be satisfied. How phenomenal. There's a theme in Luther's writings where he talks about spiritual eyes. Looking at the world through the eyes of Jesus. Who looks and he sees the people who we think would be cursed, and he says, no, they're blessed. The people who are lost, he says, no, they're found. The people who we think are close to the kingdom of heaven, and Jesus says, no, not even. But the ones who look so far away, he says, no, you're right on the door. Jesus just sees things. He sees the girl who's dead, and he says, she's sleeping. And he's right. So that 9th blessing turns right back around to us. We're reviled and persecuted and forgotten and cast off by the world. What does Paul say? We're the scum of the earth. And Jesus says, rejoice and be glad. He sees us. He sees you, and he calls you blessed. Sunday Drive Home.